Hi, my name is Path and I teach Business and Entrepreneurial Initiative. I will tell you 3 stories about how I help my students to discover their talents. I always say that my job is similar to being an electrician because I create learning experiences that make my students' talent come to light. Mieres used to be a mining town, but most of the mines have been closed and population is struggling with high rates of unemployment. My students come at the beginning of the year demotivated with the feeling that a very difficult life is expecting outside the gates of our school and with a lack of self-esteem, which is a great obstacle for their learning. The first thing that can help my students is learning to see life in different perspectives. One of the first dynamics I do in my class is to ask one student, please put this post-it in the highest place you can. And they start asking, can I use the table? Yes, of course, you can use whatever you have around you to reach the highest. And once that they have made the great effort, I say, do you think you may ask for help to a mate that can help you to reach even higher? Because only with others we can reach the highest place. It is a simple activity, and you may think that it's not related to entrepreneurial mindset. For me, it's the first step for my students to think, feel, and be in a different way. As a part of an entrepreneurial learning project run by a public agency run alone, my students receive a very special challenge from a designer, Vera Rodriguez. Vera Rodriguez asked my students to look for an abandoned place in order to give it a new use. This is a fantastic place to do that. We are in a post-industrial area full of this kind of places. So my students grabbed their mobiles and went exploring. And when they came back, they say, we want to repair this tunnel. This tunnel, which is 5 minutes from our school and which is abandoned and full of swear words and insults. So we say, perfect. You have 5 weeks and €0 to do that. The tunnel was 21 meters long by 2.5 meters high. It was an amazing experience and sometimes a nightmare. I remember that once I wake up at 4 at night saying, how are they going to get more than €1,000 to paint the tunnel? They organize online crowdfunding and a campaign in a local level. So finally, most of the local businesses and some associations and neighbors decided to help them with the idea. They got the money, and in our classes, when we had business classes, we got our paintings, our buckets, and we went with our jackets donated by a local NGO to paint the tunnel. The idea was not only to repair the tunnel, the idea was much more than that. They decided to call the project Bottle Stories because they put some bottles in the tunnel to take stories from neighbors in order to share them to the social nets of the project. This project was a success. They involved lots of local stakeholders and the public library, the creative writing club in Mieres, an association of young people with mental disabilities who went every Wednesday to the tunnel to put their stories there. It was a great experience, and they learned to work with tight limits, and they learned that they have lots of capacity to add value to the community, to the local community. 5 years after the project, which is now, they are still remembering the project and saying that they are using lots of ways of thinking of the project. And this is what happens when we let our students time and space to create. 1 year, as I always do, I told my students to look for an idea to transform it in a real project. The idea was that it had to add value in a cultural way, or in a social way, or in a financial way. So after long sessions in the class, playing with ideas, with creative techniques, interviewing, exploring friends' needs, lots of things. One day they came and say, Paz, we have an idea. We want to write a book. I say, a digital book, fantastic. They say, no, a physical book, a real book. And I remember they say, you will have to look for a local publisher to publish it. You will have to look for financing. So a perfect idea, a physical book. The idea was to write a book with stories of their clients in the salon, in the hairdressing salon. We collaborated with an elderly association in Mieres, and we had lots of stories. I remember one morning when one of our students' father came and he started explaining how he had saved the life of a maid miner in the mine long time ago. It was thrilling. It was absolutely impressive, like a film. But the best part of this was when he had gone and Laura said, this is the first time that I listened to this story. I didn't know that my father was a hero that had saved lives. Lots of stories like this came. And what my students learned was that there was a different side of Mieres. Mieres was not a dead-end village anymore. It was a village in which anonymous heroes walk among us. They get the money to write 100 copies of the book, and we organize an event to present the book. They organized an event in the town hall where more than 300 neighbors went to listen to them. And they discovered that they have the talent to transform an event in one of the most impressive lessons of bravery I have ever seen, when one young man with a severe autism read in front of more than 300 neighbors one of the stories of the book. This is the potential that we have in our schools. We published the book under Creative Commons license, and now it's in all the public libraries in Mieres and in some schools, which reminds us what the capacity we have in our classroom. I think that the message is to see their own lives with a different light, which will be the best thing for their learning future. This is like a way using emotion to get knowledge. This project has been like an engine, a very important engine for their present and their perception of future. During the spring lockdown, I asked my students to write a script for a video curriculum. I remember that I asked them, tell me who you really are, the person that I know in class, full of potential, talent, and life. Tell me your story as it deserves to be told. just half an hour after sending the task, I received a message from Maria. But I have felt inspired and I have written this. The script started like this. When I was a child, from 2 to 13 years old, I suffered for a disease called juvenile rheumatoid arthritis that didn't allow me to do the life of a normal child. I had lots of pains and have difficulties to move like a normal child. My favorite time of the day was when my brother and my father allowed me to play with their hair. From that moment, I decided that I would devote my life to be a hairdresser. Thanks to my family values and what I learned from my disease, I have grown to be assertive, adaptable, and I'm used to working hard for my goals. Maria is now finishing her studies. She is now writing a book. Maria has learned that her life can be an inspiration for others. And she has learned that she can see her own story with a new and bright perspective. I always tell my students that the most important thing is not what cards you receive in life, it's what you do with these cards. I am convinced that education should teach our students to play cards in order to play her best match. And let me tell you a secret. The way I teach goes against the curriculum. I use emotion to reach knowledge. I want my students to learn to push their boundaries. I want them to realize that they are capable of do much more than they thought at the beginning. I use the tools I need to get my goal. My goal is to make my students aware of what they are capable to do. My goal is to make them face small challenges, then bigger challenges. Emotions are a big engine that make my students work hard, not because it's in the curriculum, not because they have a qualification or a marks. It's something that makes them go farther and farther to reach their goals. My role as a teacher is so easy. It's just to be there to support them and to give them opportunities to discover their talent, to make them shine. Thank you for watching. I hope you have found interesting experiences that can be helpful for your job. Follow us on Open Space. See you there.